Blinks and armies getting mad at other groups succeeding in the West is giving me very xenophobic vibes. And yet you ask why your fandom has so many enemies. You say, it's an act of revenge for the other fandoms attacking BTS when they pandered to the West. But how long do you exactly plan on enacting your revenge for? Hey lovelies, Lovely Muse here and welcome back to another chapter of my Unpopular Opinions video. It's been a couple of months, about 5 months since my last one. So I do apologize for those who come to my channel anticipating my opinions. Going into my 4th year now, school has become hectic and overwhelming, and has now basically been taking a large part of my attention. So I haven't been able to commit to posting and creating large videos or just in general, videos that would take a while to edit. However, I'm back in here to provide you with my current opinions. So, without any other delays, let's get into it. 17 is the only official, overall self-producing group. The key word being, overall. They are the only ones officially given this title by the media, K-nets, and the Korean industry. However, this doesn't mean that there aren't other groups or idols, who don't produce their own songs for themselves or for their groups. But people by now should understand that 17 aren't called a self-producing group, for just simply producing their own songs, but for self-producing literally every aspect of their artistry. From producing, editing and directing their own music videos, making their own choreography, making their own merch, producing their own content, producing their own magazine, and even going as far as to get their fandom to produce their own songs. The level of involvement that the members have is ridiculous, and I have yet to see any other group at that level. Though I will say that the group who comes close to it may possibly be Stray Kids. GOT7's first comeback after leaving JYP will be the defining moment to see whether or not they can still keep going as a group. If this comeback does well, then it would be a testament that they don't need to rely on a big company like JYP to still be successful as a group. However, if the comeback doesn't do well, or doesn't reach the level of expectations they, or the fans have, this would then be a testament that the members might be better off just disbanding and continuing on with their solo careers. Which so far, seems to be doing much better and are being well received, especially for members such as Jackson, Bam Bam, Jin Young, and Yoongi. Anyone still thinking that HYBE has no say, or decision-making in the companies that they have acquired and literally own majority shares to, clearly do not know a thing or two about business, and the dynamics surrounding parent companies and their subsidiaries. Since when has HYBE become a charity case that just buys and hands out free cash to people? The amount of things that have changed or has been removed, or upgraded since 17, New East, and G-Friend's inclusion into HYBE, is literal proof of HYBE involvement. Plus, I find it really interesting that HYBE stans will say with their entire chest that HYBE has nothing to do with these companies when something bad or negative affects these groups. But the moment something great or positive happens to these groups, all of a sudden HYBE is to thank for. Like, which is it? HYBE is a parent company, and I don't think people actually realize or understand what a parent company actually is and just how much power they have. The words from HYBE are basically God's words to their subsidiaries, so you can best believe that if HYBE wanted to disband G-Friend and New East, you can best believe they could and would. Especially when there's evidence proving that none of the groups, or even their staffs were aware of the disbandment until last minute. And you can best believe that I 100% believe HYBE were the ones who indeed wanted those 2 groups gone. Whether it was to make space for the 5 other groups they plan on debuting, or because those groups weren't meeting the expected quota. Either way, people pretending like HYBE didn't have a hand in the groups they technically own, yes you heard that right, own, are delusional. Mama is slowly starting to lose their relevance. They don't have the same hype or importance they used to have because people are starting to see through their BS. Especially when they continue to show favoritism towards specific groups and artists. And especially when they continue to provide awards that either don't make sense, or provide awards to groups solely based on their popularity. The amount of groups that have been done dirty by Mama since 2019 is testament to this. From GOT7 and 17, to NCT Dream, Twice, and now ITZY. Even at the recent Mama event, I still can't understand how 17 didn't get nominated for Album of the Year. Like, I can accept them not winning, cause BTS still exist and so does favoring popularity, but not even getting a nomination? I don't know about you guys, but that's suspicious and shady. Especially since this isn't the first time Mama has done 17 dirty. Blinks and ARMYs getting mad at other groups succeeding in the West is giving me very xenophobic vibes. Yes, I know it's not all ARMYs or all Blinks, but it's enough. It's a good amount of them doing this. Like, how can you preach and constantly trend Blackpink paved the way, or BTS paved the way, but get hostile, and go completely berserk the moment news breaks out about another group succeeding in the West? You should be happy and proud that these groups are able to make a footprint of their own onto the Western market because of your idols. But all I constantly see are two insecure fandoms hiding behind their superiority complex over other groups. Instead, you're out here calling these other groups names, belittling them and their achievements, and trying real hard to discredit the things they've accomplished for themselves in the West. And yet you ask why your fandom has so many enemies. You say, it's an act of revenge for the other fandoms attacking BTS when they pandered to the West. But how long do you exactly plan on enacting your revenge for? I am supposed to believe that every single fandom and their groups before all this were out to get BTS? That everyone is an enemy, so no group or fandom is spared. While Blinks, on the other hand, are a whole different case. At least with ARMYs I can kind of understand where the hostility is coming from, but with Blinks, there's literally no excuse for Blinks' behavior, especially their behavior recently towards other artists and groups. Like, I get you're deprived from your idol's lack of content and music, but don't lash that out on other people. But anyways, ARMYs and Blinks need to get off their high horse, before karma comes and bites them in the ass. This attitude they got going on ain't going to hold up and benefit them in the long run. Understand that just like every other hugely and widely successful groups, they all come to a closing. Whether it's the Beatles, NSYNC, the Pussycat Dolls, or One Direction. These are all groups who were once hailed as the top best of the best. The greatest of all time. Now all that's left is their album sitting in someone's basement collecting dust. Think and ask yourself, when your idol retires and moves on from being a K-pop star, what do you want them to be remembered for the most? Having broken records and opened a new door of opportunities not just for themselves but for other Korean artists? Or for having the most toxic fandom of all time? Cause you can best believe that no matter the great things a person has done, all they need to do or have is one bad thing for everything else to be overshadowed. I mean, just look at Will Smith. Vivaz is kind of falling short of my expectations of them, especially seeing their performances on Queendom so far. Like, I don't even watch Queendom, didn't watch the first season, and didn't watch the entire season of Kingdom either. But in this season, I do have my favorites that I keep watch of, and one of them was Vivaz, former members of G-Friend. Which means that most of the clips I would watch of Queendom were literally only clips of Vivaz. I'm going to be honest here, they looked like they were either purposefully holding back, or they were lacking something. I'll admit, when Vivaz debuted with Bop Bop, even though the song was good, it wasn't my vibe, but because of my attachment to G-Friend, I ended up hyping it up like it was a song worthy for the Song of the Year award. Looking at Vivaz now, you can definitely tell Yuju was a very key member to G-Friend's vocals. And I'll be honest, Yuju had a better debut than them. Play is what you'd call a real bop. Honestly, I don't know, but I do know that I really want Vivaz to succeed, but their Queendom performance has been lackluster so far. However, I will say that their recent performance with some of the Kepler members, with the song Purr, was great. But yet again, the performance was average. On another note, Kepler should have never been placed on Queendom. At first I was thinking to myself, how are they going to place a newly debuted group, who literally just got out from one survival show onto another one? But then I remembered it's Mnet and they've actually done this before on Road to Kingdom with a boy group TOO, who are now known as TO1. Like, imagine finishing one survival show and finally being able to debut, only to be placed back into another one. Kepler's appearance on Queendom gave me TO1 2.0 or even Icon 2.0, but the only difference I see is that Icon and TO1 actually benefited from their appearance on Kingdom and Road to Kingdom. While it seems like Kepler isn't gaining anything, and seems to actually be losing. For instance, all their performances except for their introduction stage has been lackluster. One of the members already got hurt, and rather than growing their fanbase, they seem to be losing hype around them. And don't even get me started on how toxic their solo stands have become. What I am trying to say is that Kepler had zero business being on Queendom. They should be out here making a comeback and growing a loyal and steady fanbase. not spending their time competing with other groups that are literally leagues ahead of them. Like groups that debuted around the same time as them, like IVE for instance, have already had their first comeback. Moving on. Wake 1 is trash. Trash for the way they are handling Kepler and trash for the way they have been treating TO1. Like I get Wang Yi took a break for anxiety, but where is he now? What is he up to? And how is he doing? There has literally been no updates about him since he left the public eye. The company couldn't even do the bare minimum of wishing him happy birthday on the group's official account, or even post pictures of the other members wishing him happy birthday. Something they would always do and has basically become tradition. But because for some reason they aren't allowed to speak his name, things have gone radio silent about him. That is, up until one of the members Chi-hoon mistakenly blurted out his name. And guess what happened? That same member has now been announced to have left the group. Yup, that doesn't sound suspicious at all. This is a Nugu group that I have literally been rooting for since I got introduced to them on Road to Kingdom, though I knew of them since World Class. I genuinely want them to succeed, but I am starting to think they might end up fading into complete obscurity. Honestly, I feel like they might have been better off with their previous label when they were called TOO. People on Reddit having debates on whose music is better between JO1 and INI are crazy. INI just debuted and have only had one comeback. I am not usually one to use the excuse of give them more time, but in this case it applies. The amount of music and content JO1 has cannot be compared. Also, this might just be me thinking this, but I genuinely feel that even though INI do indeed fit the hip-hop concept, their brighter and more cheerful songs have been way better than their hip-hop or hard-hitting songs. Like to me, the song We Are is better than Call 119, and Brighter is way better than Rocketeer. I don't know why they keep letting the fandom choose their title tracks for them, cause clearly the fandom keeps choosing the wrong ones. Also, this might just be me, but I feel like if I keep on going down this path, they are going to end up clashing with JO1's concepts and image. This is because I have already noticed that there are some songs of theirs that literally sound like B-sides for JO1. Like Dilemma and Killing Part. Anyways, I also wanted to take this opportunity to say a big thank you to the international Jams and Mini who are dedicated to translating content from the groups for other international fans to enjoy. Even though the international fandom isn't big, I appreciate the effort they put into helping international fans be able to connect and enjoy content from these groups. Keep up the good work. Hype providing 17 with a storyline 8 years into their careers is really funny to me. I am so used to 17 staying clear away from things like that. And Carrots looking like complete clowns whenever they try to connect dots that don't even exist. That I kid you not. I was confused throughout the entire time watching the Darling music video. Cause my brain was telling me that there was definitely a story there, but my experience as a Carrot constantly had me second guessing myself every time I tried connecting dots. However, I am actually pretty interested or at least curious to see what kind of story Hype does plan to give them, if they are actually getting a story at all. But I also do hope that they strictly do this with only their English releases. I would appreciate it if they kept their English releases separate from their Korean releases. Kind of like how they keep their Japanese releases separate from their Korean releases. Like keep the story strictly contained within their English releases, if they choose to consistently produce English songs moving forward. Cause like I said, 17 have never had lore. They are literally one of the few groups who don't, and I don't really see a point in giving them one now. But if it's for the sake of having all Hype groups be connected, then I guess I'm a little curious to see how that goes. Like will it be like SM and their whole Kwangja thing going on?